Hi, Roy here. Greetings from the Brassica prairies of West Lancashire in the northwest of England, where fields of cabbages stretch as far as you can see to the horizon beneath the big and usually rainy skies. And the reason I'm here, actually recording this on the last day of May, is because June on the Range is about to start. By the time you see this, it will just have started. June on the Range, a fantastic reading event devised by Michael K. Vaughan, with a fantastic group of co-hosts that I will link to down below. So June on the Range is a month of reading westerns, and that's what the participation's all about. It's not heavy on prompts and challenges, it's just read a western, or many. And, great if you've never read one before. This is the chance to see lots of recommendations and to, maybe try something at anywhere you want in the huge spectrum of western writing, from sort of pulp adventures to literary classics. It's all there for you. But I'm doing a TBR, so I'm going to show you what I hope to read. Pretty much fixated on these books as being ones I will read, so I'm not calling it a pile of possibilities, I'm calling it a TBR, because I like to do it in a sort of structured way. Might have said I'm one of those illustrious co-hosts, so I sort of feel a little bit of discipline. Discipline is required on the trail. So, week 1, I will read The Virginian, a classic novel by Owen Wister, perhaps the first western, depending who you listen to, but certainly a very early western. Came out in 1902, had a huge impact, and I've never read it. When I grew up, Virginian TV show was on, and saw a lot of that, but I've never read the book, so really looking forward to it. And it's also the choice for Roger's Cheap Old Book Club, again a Michael K. Vaughan thing. Being a classic, it's available for free, so there's lots of ways you can read it. I got this paperback that does not have the Virginian on the front. It has a different character from the TV show. I thought that was kind of cool. So that's for week 1, and I will also endeavour to read Valdez is Coming by Elmore Leonard, because I'm looking for a bit of symmetry, and the alphabet is my friend here. So week 1 brought to you by the letter V, Virginian, Valdez is Coming. I saw the movie long time ago. I've read a fair bit of Elmore Leonard, but more crime, so looking forward to that as well. Moving into week 2. Hopalong Cassiday is an interesting character. So Clarence Mulford wrote his Bar 20 novels in the 30s, might even have started in the 20s, and they were super popular. And I always thought, until I read them, that Hopalong was a kind of a children's character, and that's really because of the films and things that are derived from the films. So it became a very popular sort of Saturday morning serial character, which is fine, but the books prior to that were much more sort of rough and ready and full of action, and probably did a fair bit to sort of solidify the genre in people's minds. I believe as a serial with the same character running through a series of books, these might have been the first to do that. I've got a whole bunch of them, and as you can see, they were back in the olden days, 1930s over here in Britain, they came out as Hodder and Stout and Yellow Jackets, which meant they were being published alongside things like Zane Grey, other westerns, but also Edgar Wallace, famous thriller writer, Sapper with his Bulldog Drummond stories, Leslie Charteris with The Saint. So this was like this branding was like, hey, here's some exciting adventure stuff. Dr. Thorndyke. It's like almost like they didn't know what to call them. Let's just publish them alongside some Eric Ambler and Victor Canning. And then they were also popular in the 60s when paperback westerns were a massive thing, and Corgi was a big publisher of that kind of stuff then. So there's lots to explore here. I've not read Hopalong Cassiday Takes Cards. Turns out Gavin at Genre Books has got not only the same book but the same edition, so we're going to buddy read that one. So with my alphabet thing, looking for another H, how about Jonah Hex? H for Hex. So comic book character, DC Comics, a long-running Western character who I've always liked, but I've never read his earliest stories, and this Showcase Presents anthology, albeit in black and white, has a lot of them. So I'll certainly read the earliest ones. He's kind of weird Western, he's got this sort of facial disfigurement from the war, and sometimes it's a bit things get a little bit gothic around him. But really good character. Lousy film, could only watch 10 minutes of it, but there you go. So it's Hopalong meets Hex. What a team up. Okay, third week. Still with the alphabet. Still with the idea of team ups. How about the Lone Ranger and Longarm? The possibilities are endless teaming these guys up. So the Lone Ranger you've probably heard of, and harder to argue not a kid's character, because he sort of always has been a kind of for the family, the ultimate white hat sort of Western hero. Started off in radio. This novel and some others were pretty early productions of the Lone Ranger. So again, this is from I think it's the 30s. Let's see, 1936. Yes, The Lone Ranger by Fran Stryker. What a great author name. Jesus saves, but Fran Stryker nets the rebound. So it's the greatest Western series ever. Probably the first thing I remember watching as like it was for me, because there were some kids' cartoons that I saw when I was really tiny. So looking forward to revisiting that, see how he appeared in book form. I think there's been some more recent stories where it's like the Lone Ranger in a more realistic kind of way, but before we turn him into sort of grimdark Lone Ranger, let's see what the real deal is like. I've also got children's annual of him, so that'll be interesting to see what that's like as well. This is it's an authorised edition, probably from the 70s by the look of it, or maybe 60s. It cost 10 and 6, and it came out in MCMLX. So what's that then? 1000 minus the 1950, 1960? 1967. Okay, 60s. Good. Lone Ranger. Longarm, different kettle of fish, very long running, and this is from what they call the adult westerns. Adult because, as well as a western novel, you get quite a lot of squelchy scenes as the hero encounters ladies along the way, and that doesn't stop them being enjoyable books. This was the first one, in fact the first two of many hundreds. Don't know what state this titular Longarm is in by the time he gets to book 400, but we will see. I think others of us are reading some of these as well. House name Tabor Evans. I'll do a bit more digging as to who wrote the early books when I get to him. Yes, so good. Right, now week 4. that for me will be Black Horse Week. Black Horse Week. So Black Horse Westerns all looked like this. They're substantial productions and produced in the UK by a publisher called Robert Hale initially, and well, I won't go into the final fate of the Black Horse Western, but they had been publishing westerns for a long time. They were a long-standing publisher, and then they brought in this branding in the 80s. And their business model was to produce lots and lots of these books and sell them mainly to libraries. Hence the durability and the sort of extremely consistent look and feel and length as well meant that they were really promoted as an imprint. The idea was that people like Black Horse Westerns, they go to the library, get some Black Horse Westerns, and there they are. Still sort of going. I've got a Black Horse Extra publication here that I'm going to read as well, Peace at Any Price by Chap O'Keefe. Yeah, and I've got a lot of these. I could read nothing else if I wanted to. 160 pages is the magic number. I actually tried to get a couple from the first year they were appearing as Black Horse Westerns. So as well as reading the books and telling you about them, we'll do a bit of the book archaeology as well, which CriminOlly was talking about in a recent video. I talked about a while ago as well, as he mentioned. So that's partly it's partly about looking at the history of the book, little stickers and things that tell you, where it's come from, where it's been, and also the way the readers would customise them with their secret signs. And there's a lot of that in these. So great adventures to be had in Black Horse Week. So June has, I think, 30 days, and it's a funny thing that a month with 30 days seems to be about a week shorter than a month with 31 days. Not sure why. If by some miracle of time slippage I can find another week, I was thinking of Sudden and the Sackets. So the Sudden Westerns were, again, 1930s initially, but a British writer, one of those Brits who's never been to America, Oliver Strange, produced an incredibly popular series called Sudden. Sudden is the nickname of the hero. They're pretty much what you'd imagine a Western to be. The hero is likeable, loads of action. They're not for kids, exactly. But also, despite being sometimes known as Piccadilly Westerns, they're not like the 70s, 80s edge type books of the sort of spaghetti gore, They're a bit more classic, I suppose. So these had an initial period of popularity, and then they came back again, 60s, paperbacks. Another writer took over, Fred Nolan, writing as Fred Christian. So there's 15 of these. So if I don't get to read them, at least take it as a recommendation. And if I'm doing my S thing, and also looking at series and how they start, Louis L'Amour with his Sackets, first book to appear, not the first chronologically to feature his Sackett family, but the first one to come out is called The Daybreakers. So that would be good. I'd really like to start down the Sackets trail. So that could happen, like I say, if I somehow find some extra time. So yeah, that will be June on the Range from this little corner of things. Hope you can watch along, at least see some reactions to these books, look at the other channels, all linked, and maybe get some recommendations. Brilliant to join in. I know some people are plunging into Lonesome Dove. If I was to make one recommendation for a book that's, I think, equally good, as Lonesome Dove, that lots of people think is great, I would say True Grit is fantastic if you'd like to dip your toe with something shorter that also has a lot of support as being an excellent Western. Okay, so back soon with something else.